Following through with your commitments is maybe the number one skill that you can work on and then you can develop in order to get closer to the best version of yourself. And there's a number of different steps that you can take in order to maximize the likelihood that you actually do follow through. And the first one is perspective. Perspective is one of the number one things that you can do. And I want to talk to you about what you can actually do to have perspective and why it's so important. When I say perspective, it really means setting aside the time the day before or a certain amount of time in advance to be able to know exactly what your priorities are for the next day. Because when you have your certain priorities for the next day or for that next week or for the next month, you protect yourself against impulsiveness and other people's priorities. So let's start with impulsiveness. So many of us on a daily basis get caught down the rabbit hole of maybe we read an article and then we read another article and then we jump to that website and then we read that article. Or maybe we scroll on social media and we're just going on there to see one thing, but we see a post, we look at that profile, we look at some of their other posts, and then we jump to that profile and then we read the comments there, and it is absolutely maddening. But if we have perspective and we create priorities for ourselves, we're less likely to chase down the rabbit hole because we know exactly what it is that we're supposed to be doing. But if we don't have anything that we're supposed to be doing, then going down the rabbit hole or jumping from profile to profile on social media isn't necessarily distracting us from anything because we don't know what it is we're supposed to be doing. So we need to be able to create priorities with perspective to protect us from impulsiveness. The other thing setting priorities does with perspective is protects us against other people's priorities. I mean, I think everybody can relate to this to a certain extent. How many times have you maybe gone to work and your boss gives you something to do? And then your coworker says, can you help me out with this as well? And then maybe you get home and your significant other or your parents or your friend was like, can you help me do this? And you're always helping that other person with their priority. Well, maybe that's because you don't have any priorities for your day yourself. But you see, if you're actually willing to set priorities for you, then it's easier to say no to other people because you're saying no for a specific reason. But if there's no reason, if there's no priority, then you're just saying no because you're being mean or that's what you're thinking about in your own head. So again, just to recap really quickly, in order to maximize the likelihood that you're going to follow through with your commitments, you need to have perspective by setting some time to be able to create your own priorities because that'll protect you against impulsiveness and it'll protect you against other people's priorities.